Hi, I'm Pat Barrett, and I am so happy to welcome you to Women's Radio 2, the WR channel. We're happy to have you wherever you're looking from. And I have a very, very interesting, exciting guest with me today. Her name is Jackie Kane, and she is a playwright. Not only that, she has a long history in acting and producing, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll get her to also tell us a little bit more about her background. But she's in Santa Fe right now, and that she is planning on opening her first play in Santa Fe called In My Father's House. And that's what brings her to us today. And we're going to learn a lot about this great play. I think you're really going to enjoy it. Welcome, Jackie.
Oh, hello, Pat. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So you said that you started writing this like 30 years ago, and the thought about this came from the riots and things that were happening in LA. Is that correct? Or the story
Yeah.
idea, maybe your experience? I'm not sure.
Yes, correct. I had just moved to Los Angeles from New York City, pursuing an acting career. And I was pretty blown away by it was just after the Rodney King LA riots, and I was blown away by the split between rich and poor, the gang violence, the drive-bys, all the children that were being killed, the police brutality, all of it.
Mhm.
And after a conversation with my father's friend, which really made me even angrier, I ended up actually with food poisoning, visiting them in Puerto
Oh, goodness.
Vallarta. And so I was stuck in the room after this horrible fight, disagreeing politically on what was happening. And I wrote every inch with a little stubby pencil and over the housekeeping form. And again, this was pre-internet and pre-cell phone, and wrote storyline and characters. So when I returned to Los Angeles, I started writing, and I actually started to look for the characters as if they existed. And I would go sit in the churches where the mothers and grandmothers were praying and chanting for their lost children,
Oh,
and
wow.
learned a lot. Learned a lot.
Wow. Well, I have a feeling that you've put quite a bit of emotion into your play. Tell us some of the juicy parts.
Sure. So, yes, so over the years, it's been dusted off and updated. And here we are today, finally producing it and directing it, which was my dream for so long. So, the character of Alana, she's a young activist, Jewish woman living at home with her parents in Beverly Hills so she could be in grad school. Wanders into East LA as part of her work study program, walks into the wrong cafe and meets Angel, who at the start of the play, 2 weeks prior, his baby brother has been killed in a drive-by.
Hmm.
And and his mom, Rosie, owns the cafe. And so they meet. And of course, at first there's culture clash. She doesn't understand his world. He doesn't understand hers, and he's suspicious of her. But she comes back to the cafe and they fall in love. Her father deeply disapproves of the relationship. Her mom is more open and Sephardic Jewish. So they pursue in this environment their relationship. There is some heated moments, and there's passionate moments and very intimate moments. She learns to dance with him. He loves dance and music, and there's lots of music in the play. And they also argue and push each other's buttons, but it's all very passionate for the cause of trying to make things right in their world and to stop the revenge killings.
Right. It was a really intense time.
It was a very intense time, and I was sort of in the thick of it. And I did meet a young man who uh, did do the two-person version with me back in the 90s, and I learned a lot because he was on the edge of gangs, ex-gang. And my friend's mother had negotiated the peace between the Bloods and the Crips at the time in her
Oh,
living
wow.
room. Yes, by telling them you have to communicate because it's that old theory of divide and conquer. And the police don't always do the right thing. And so she said, you have to know, and you have to be in communication that this wasn't the other gang doing this. And
Right.
so they did have peace for a long time this way by having walkie-talkies, because they didn't have cell phones then, right? Yeah.
Right. 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 I think we tend to forget that there was ever a time we didn't have a cell phone, right? Since I think I carry one around in my hand all the time.
I know,
Maybe
it's
that's
crazy,
not
right?
healthy, but
Yeah. And there's a lot of beautiful music. I really try to blow away stereotypes. So in both her parents' family house, what they listen to, and also what he listens to, what his mother listens to. And there's just a darling, sweet scene where the father goes looking, her father goes looking for her in East LA. He's probably never been there before, and walks into Rosie's cafe to try to find his daughter, but they've already gone out for the night. So he has his one and only confrontation, I suppose you could say, with Rosie, Angel's mother. And basically she teaches him in that short little conversation where they sit at the cafe table and have a glass of wine, we're really not so different, you know. So there is some humor, as well as the intensity and the passion and tears, I'm sure. And there's this one moment where she says to him, you know, we're not so different, when he says, I don't approve of my daughter's relationship with your son. And she ends up saying, well, you know, my father, if I had brought a gringo tourist home, he would have shot him. Very traditional. So, and so they meet in the middle there, you know, and he learns something, of course, from that conversation.
I understand you have quite a background in music yourself.
Yes, I do. And so it's very important to me to bring that into the play, both live guitar playing by the character Angel, but also recorded music from throughout. My father, who's very much, his spirit is in this play, loved all kinds of music and turned me on to all kinds of music, from Willie Nelson to classical to Pavarotti, all of it. So yes, I became actually, after moving to LA and pursuing acting, I became a concert promoter. So I produced large festivals. I produced the First Americans in the Arts Awards for several years, honoring Native Americans in the arts. But then I also produced baby boomer concerts, everyone on my bucket list, so pretty much. So Jackson Browne, Stephen Stills, Leon Russell, a lot of Leon Russell, bless his heart, and Judy Collins.
Oh,
Blind
yeah.
Boys of Alabama, so you know, a real Leela Downs, and so some of that music is in the play. But I learned it all in New York City, working for David Maldonado, and we represented Mark Anthony and Menudo when Ricky Martin was the oldest, and yeah, concerts at Madison Square Garden. So it was Celia Cruz and Tito Puente. So I really learned a lot about Latin culture, and just so connected with it, and
Oh,
so
interesting.
I've brought that forth here, obviously. Yeah.
Well, what are you hoping to happen next? What
Well,
happens after Santa Fe?
after Santa Fe, well, it is my dream and hope to take this to Los Angeles, which is where it takes place. The story takes place and where it
Indeed.
originated, right? And then maybe, who knows? Maybe we'll see. Maybe New York City after that.
Yeah, maybe so. Wouldn't that be great?
And if I could bring my wonderful, talented cast with me, I would. Yeah.
Oh, and I want you to talk about your cast. I was going to ask you, how in the world do you find the kind of talent that I'm sure you were looking for in Santa Fe, New Mexico?
Yeah, it was a little challenging because there's some great talent here, but it's also limited. And it's not like in New York and LA where people, you know, come in droves to casting calls. So I had to really turn over a lot of stones, but I had some help from people even in the film casting world here, which is, as your audience may know, you may know, there's a lot going on here. Dark Winds and is happening, and Netflix has their studio in Albuquerque. So I really dug deep and found my two leads actually in Albuquerque. And then there's the other character actors here that are just so talented. So we just have such an amazing cast. Couldn't be happier about it. Yeah.
No wonder you want to take them with you. Maybe you will.
Yeah, I would take them all with me. I don't know if I can.
Well, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. I think it's wonderful that you've held on to this dream and now you've produced it and you have an incredible background. So I know that people are in for a treat. I wish I could be there, but
Oh, I wish you could too.
maybe I'll catch it in LA or New York. So you never
Oh,
know.
there you go. Yes, that would
And
be
then
nice.
and then maybe you'll decide to make it into a movie and then produce some other things. It sounds like you've had a good time doing this.
Yeah, look, that's always a possibility. When I first wrote it, I was told, well, you see in film, and yeah, I did. I see visually and I see as if it were film. So it's interesting how this play is staged as well because of my visualization film wise. So we have one long set,
Uh-huh.
different sections,
Oh,
but they're all
interesting.
right there. You
Right,
have the
right.
Stein household, you have the cafe, and then Angel's apartment. And the lighting really comes into play because we quickly move music wise, sound, lights between
Interesting.
one scene and back and forth. So it is very visual, almost like a film.
Well, how can people get in touch or how did they learn more about how to attend the play or to learn more about whatever else you may be doing in the future?
Sure, thank you. So they can write to me directly at Jackie at Kane, Kane productions.com. And tickets, they can learn more about the play at theatersantafe.org. There's information there that takes you over to Teatro Paraguas, which is the theater where it is being co-presented.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations. We look to hear back from you about all the new things that you're doing. And I think what you're doing is wonderful. I'm so glad that you went forward and produced it. I know it's going to be very successful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pat. Yeah, it's very exciting. Thanks for having me on.
It's our pleasure. Thank you.